So the tech giant Cloudflare, the content delivery network offerer, is offering millions of websites a game-changing AI bot blocker, by default. So if you get a new Cloudflare account, which is a free account, it switches that on by default. So it's basically whatever you're trying to index on your website or share with the world, let's say you want to, it's not going to be visible to AI robots. So our question is the fight against content scraping for AI answers hotting up? Emily, you've written a number, published quite a bit of research. With that research, what do you want? Do you want it to just sort of be available for private sharing, or do you want it available on the internet for others to see? What do you want to do with that research?
I just want people to read it.
Right.
And I don't mind if those people are bots, honestly. There's two things I'd like to just reflect on that. It's obviously part of a really difficult debate on the training of AI tools and the sort of social equity towards the content creators, because they're not going to end up being enriched by this activity. Other people are. So, number one, what I'd like to say is what is not blocked. So what it is. So let's imagine the world where this happens. So Cloudflare customers' stuff is blocked. And what is not blocked? The not blocked will be overly weighted in terms of the training material. And there's an analogy here with firewalled news content. Obviously, the internet has really disrupted the business model of traditional news media, and a lot of the quality has gone behind paywalls. What has not gone behind paywalls? Conspiracy theories. Radical and very extreme views which are not subject to any editorial policy. So the content that's behind paywalls is not available to be scraped. The stuff that is out there in the world is crazy shit that you don't want your AI spouting back at you. So it's sort of, it's back to your point, Alice, about the sort of abstinence approach. It's interesting that Cloudflare are taking this approach. They're staking a position in the debate, which is very interesting. And that very quickly, to finish, my other reflection on it is the default versus opt-in. And Alice, this goes back to a book you recommended to me ages ago, Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And he shows that organ donation completely changed when you went from an opt-in model where you get typically less than 1% do it,
make a decision,
to you're opted in by default and it's up to you to opt out, and then you get more than 90% uptake. So default settings are really, really, really important.
And just some of the facts here. Cloudflare represents approximately 20% of the world's websites, so it's a huge player in this website market. The reality is that it's going to be burying by default most of the content that it's actually covering, unless people engage in this game. So before I talk about my reaction to that as an engineer, Alice, I wanted to this thing about the artists and the artist's primary work, and that being, on the one hand, hyper available through the internet, but on the other, just being copied. And we've been hearing from Elton John. There's government select committees. We've been hearing from Dua Lipa, who's joined in the discussion.
This is like theft on an enormous scale, I think, is what Elton John said. Is that I feel a lot for digital artists at the moment, where it's like you must feel like you're watching something doing your job worse, stealing your original works online. And there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of outcry, quite rightly, from artists who don't want their work just taken by the thing that is kind of replacing them.
Right. And I think that ethical thing, that sort of rewarding the artist, is on the face of it behind Cloudflare's decision. So there's which I'm actually very interested in it's always paradoxical how that ends up in reality, because at the moment people put stuff on the internet to be crawled by Google, to be indexed by search engines, so that it becomes available to everybody else. And you're saying your research, you did have to do that, but you're also savvy enough.
In the research world, you're never going to really be paid by anybody reading your stuff.
Well, I think
but
some.
the ideas yourself, attribution is a huge deal in the research world. Just taking I mean, we came across a paper the other day, I won't say who by, but really it just ripped off all of the findings that we'd done in a study, which we had taken 6 months to do and crunched a lot of data and interviewed a lot of people for. Yeah. And that lack of attribution is a lack of courtesy, but it also goes to, it's then that people holding out that work as their own.
Yes. So so what you're saying is you're not really interested in this area. You would if you had written songs or poetry.
Absolutely,
or whatever. But in this area, you're not interested in financial reward, but attribution, and blocking AI crawlers is not really going to do that unless the AI, and I've noticed a lot of AI results do attribution. They do attribution links within the AI answers, certainly a lot of the AI that I use. But the promise from Cloudflare is a pay-per-crawl initiative designed to empower publishers to monetize their content when accessed by AI companies. One thing is, is this realistic? Are people? Can
you explain what that means? Pay per crawl.
Well, basically, you can open up your content for AI crawling, but the AI bots
have to pay.
So it's creating a commercial relationship with this content delivery network.
That sounds quite good, actually.
It sounds good. Yeah. I suspect that it's going to be good for Cloudflare as well. And what I hope as an engineer is that Cloudflare is dealing with a very, very major problem on the internet, which is called DDoS, which is a denial of service attack that little organizations cannot afford to mitigate. So you all sit behind Cloudflare, which is one of the only big players out there that offers. And so it's a bit like, yes, you can have your little tiny website. Let's imagine that the internet is a high street, okay? And you've got lots of little shops. And what the DDoS attackers do is they can send 3 million people into your shop, and you have to serve all of those people, and none of them are buying anything. They're just cruising the shop. But during that time, you're working hard. You're working your servers to death, and you don't make a single sale. A DDoS attack is a nightmare for an engineer. Yes. Cloudflare says, we've got some great big bouncers in our nightclub. So you can put your website in our nightclub, and it's free. And so you've got your website, and it's a dilly little thing, and you put it in your nightclub, and that's where you live with your website. And if anybody wants to know where your table is, they have to ask Cloudflare, and Cloudflare bouncers will show them, but nobody gives away your address. I'm hoping that out of this, the AI crawlers and people like that, the bot providers who've got lots of money at the moment, will up the competitive game with DDoS protection. They will actually get it to that and offer engineers and website hosters an alternative to Cloudflare altogether, because they'll be so pissed off about having their AI bot crawlers monetized. So
my feeling
I think
is
it'll be a paradoxical effect.
It's a lovely idea. I think that the bot providers will probably just go, let's just use the free content. And I think that probably the solution is around collection societies for artists, and them standing up for a fairer deal for artists and content creators, and which is it's an established model on different older media. Yeah,
I wonder if we put a paywall in front of our website, how many people would actually pay. So anyway, thank you very much. We're just about out of time. Before we finally sign off today on this sunny day in Oxford, do we have a comment of the week?
We do have a comment of the week. So it was from last week. We were talking about AI therapists and the ethics of AI therapists. And somebody commented, one big thing we need to tackle is agreeableness. Models will currently always agree, which can be extremely damaging in some cases. Defo need guidelines and to work out where it fits within a wider framework, as you say.
This
think
is
who did that come from?
yes.
Someone called I am Kyle Balmer.
I am
Kyle.
Kyle Balmer. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for that comment. That's really interesting because the models are worried about being toxic or encouraging people to do negative things. But sometimes therapy is about saying what people don't want to hear
But it's
as
also-
much as what they do, wouldn't
I
you
think
say?
also in an emergency, validating how somebody feels is very important. But I think, as you know, Kyle Balmer is saying, we need ethical guidelines
Yes.
just to make sure it's all safe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you very
And,
much.
Yeah, really appreciate the comments. Thank you so much.